Good morning, everyone. At this time, I'll call the Crow Wing County Committee of the Whole meeting for February 18th, 2025 to order. First up today, we have Kara Terry.
Roll call.
Pardon me?
Call the roll, please.
I think we should call roll call.
Commissioner Coring.
Here.
Commissioner Lubke is absent. Commissioner Barrows.
Here.
Commissioner Franzine. Here. Commissioner Lee.
Here.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, County Board, Kara Terry with Community Services.
And I'm Tina Ebertowski, Supervisor in Income Maintenance.
All right, so we are here today to talk about county-funded burials. Statute 261.035 outlines that when a person dies and they or their spouse or family does not have a prepaid funeral plan or sufficient ability to pay for a burial or cremation, the county shall pay for the cremation or the burial on the preference of the person, if known, or on the decedent's faith tradition. Boy, I can't talk this morning. It's like a Monday. We haven't been here for a while around this topic, and we have a potential change to the policy. So we thought this would be a good time to share some information with you, get your approval on the potential change, and see if you have any questions around this service.
So as Kara stated, we are required to provide those services, and what I've outlined on the PowerPoint here is what we look at for immediate earth burial and immediate cremation. Currently, as noted to, the preferred method is cremation, and we currently pay $2,900 plus transportation costs on that if they are have to be transported more than 20 miles outside of the area. And that's what the majority of our burials are cremations. And then for earth burial, it is $3,900 is the max that we pay on that.
Quick question for you. Who makes the decision, earth or cremation?
We only do the earth burial if the family has a reason that they would not want the cremation. Normally, it's a religious belief that they don't want the cremation.
Okay, so it's based on their religious teachings or beliefs?
Typically, yes.
Okay, you say typically. Kara?
Because some people, regardless of their religious beliefs, they may not want the body cremated. They might want an earth burial to be able to visit the site and that type of thing. So typically it's based on religious preference, but not always. Sometimes they just prefer to be buried instead of cremated.
In my mind, I'm questioning why there would be a choice. If they're asking for assistance from the taxpayers, why wouldn't the less costly one be the choice?
That would be up to the legislature, good Lord, and the statute. So we're following the statute, and it outlines specifically that if the decedent preferred an earth burial or had a religious belief around that, then we have to honor that.
So most likely, or most often, I want to say, when the family is meeting with the funeral home will let them know that the preferred method is cremation. And if they question that method, if they say that, they question why it would be that versus an earth burial, that's where it normally gets worked out. Is that
Follow-up question then?
Yes, sir.
If we follow what the decedent's wishes are, what if we don't know what their wishes are, but the family says we want an earth burial? Is there a form that gets signed by the decedent prior to death that would indicate their preference?
Not that I'm aware of,
So some situations, then we wouldn't know
Correct.
what the decedent's preference is. We know what the family's preference is. Okay.
Yes.
Just want to be clear.
Yes, very true.
So currently, we're seeing various amounts requested for local funeral homes on the cost of goods and services, and that's where there's now a medical examiner's fee that is in place. And so when a body is going to be cremated, a medical examiner has to sign off on that before the body can be cremated. And Ramsey County charges a $50 fee for that, and they're forwarding that on to the funeral homes. And recently, we've been seeing them list a varying amount on that. Some are listing 50, some are listing 75, some have even put 100 on that. So it caused us to question, why there's a difference in that fee. So doing some investigation on that, I did contact Ramsey County Medical Examiner's office, and it is a $50 fee. They did send us verification of that. So we do know that it's that fee. I don't know why they were, somewhat increasing that fee, but talking with a couple of them, they're talking about they're already taking a cut in what our limit is. One funeral home told me the max they pay is, or what they would charge someone coming in for a cremation is $4,400. The other funeral home told me $47. So they already felt they were taking a cut, so they're wanting to pass that $50 medical examiner fee on to us. So I would like to update the policy to include that fee of $50, a max of $50, because we know that that's what they're currently being charged from Ramsey County.
Question for you there. Can they just arbitrarily raise that cost at any time if they choose to? So there's no control over that. We have no say in it.
No.
Legislature has no say in it.
No.
Interesting. Thank you.
So Jeff and I actually worked on this together and reached out to some other counties. And here you can see that from the counties that responded, there is a varying amount, yet really when you average it out, the average was 2,878. So I feel where we're at the 2,900 is really within the range of where we should be. And I don't know in other, counties what their funeral providers are charging, but I feel that we're in a good spot where we're at with that.
Question. Just full of them today.
That's okay.
So this list of counties that you have here and the amounts, when I go back to our change, we're adding in the transportation and that. Do their numbers also add in transportation and give us a ballpark?
A lot of them do add in transportation. The amounts I know are differing. It's $1 more that they add on.
Some of them I noticed though are like $3,500, and that might be inclusive of
Right.
some of those. So it's hard to judge then if we're comparing apples to apples.
Correct.
Well, and when we got the information from them, the question that we asked is what is the max that they pay for the direct cremation? And then some of them noted if it was additional for mileage that they would pay.
Okay.
Typically, we're only paying mileage if someone has to go down, they have to go down to pick them up at the medical examiner's office. Is typically the only time we're paying that. Because if someone chooses to use a funeral home, say in St. Cloud, which they can use any funeral home that they choose, we're not going to pay mileage there.
Okay. Good.
And then I wanted to give you an idea of, kind of the last few years of what the history of our applications has been. And as you can see, it does vary, but then again, that's not something that we can really determine, how many burial applications are going to come to us. And also you can see that not every burial application that we receive is paid. Denials could be they have excess assets, they have prepaid burials already out there, or lack of follow-through from the applicants. And then also I put on there the applications, like how many are received from funeral homes that are in Crow Wing County, and then the ones that are received outside of the county. So the majority are from in there. The other, one thing too with the other counties, some of them are like the Cremation Society. Some individuals will choose to go through that and not have any type of other service. And as far as our budget, we've stuck pretty straightforward on that as far as, or keeping it somewhat aligned over the last few years. You can see in 2023, we had more burials, so the expenses were higher, not as many recoveries there. But then you can look at like this last year in 2024, we had a lot more recoveries, so that ended up being under the budget there.
It's interesting that when you look at the baby boomers, you would think there'd be a big bubble going through like 20, 21, 22, 23, because we're now aging, very aging population. And certainly death is not predictable. So the younger generation, the next ones coming up, can be just as, have just as many deaths as us bigger population and older population. So it's interesting that our budget has stayed pretty much where it has been, regardless of those ups and downs. And so has the number of funerals in that. So I find that interesting demographically.
And that was all that information that I brought forward for you today. Do you have any other questions for us?
So,
Commissioner
Mr.
Coring,
Chair.
go ahead.
so the only ask today is to pay the $50 fee. That's what the ask is today?
Yes, to add the $50 fee into the existing policy. Yep.
And that would be if they are requesting that, because
Right.
not all funeral homes have been adding that cost to their cost of goods and services, but the ones that are adding it to it, we would like to be able to pay them that $50.
You know, I guess I'm okay with this. The only thing, it kind of bothers me that we're paying a substantial amount to Ramsey County Medical Examiner to be our county coroner. I don't know why they have to have that $50 fee. It seems like it's almost another way to just make some additional revenue. If it was a medical examiner call, I don't know why they're charging that $50 fee, but I guess I'm fine with it.
Thank you. Commissioner Lee, did you have a question?
No, I think I was going to kind of echo actually what he just said. I'm not a big fan of the nickel and dime fees on top of things, but it's roughly $3,200, I think, is what we're looking at. So I don't see a problem with it.
Okay, so seems like there's a consensus to absorb this one.
Okay.
You'll bring that on the next,
We don't usually bring our
Nope.
policies forward for board
Okay.
approval, but just bringing it to you for your knowledge and,
Okay.
but we can certainly bring it back with a request for board action.
nope. If it's not necessary, let's not do it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So do I flip this one more time? Oh, you already took it.
Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Commissioners. First item we have for you today is an easement. This easement request is actually an easement for Crow Wing County. And once the map pulls up here in a second, so the area we're talking about here is in the city of Baxter, kind of by Home Depot. The county has 3 lots on Perch Lake that we technically don't have access to. So as you see on the map, Grouse Drive up there is a private roadway, and there is an outlot that we've been discussing with the Novelist Land Company if they'd be willing to give us an easement. And we wanted to come here and talk with the county board and make sure that is okay for us to continue on that process to secure that easement to hopefully divest of these properties in the future. And so here to just have that conversation today and see if you have any questions, comments, or concerns.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Mr. Chair. I think I just got my question answered. So we are going to divest of these properties if we can get this easement. Obviously, they're landlocked now. Is that right, Tom?
That is correct, and we have tried to sell these in the past on
Yeah.
land sales, and we've been unsuccessful because there is no public access.
Okay. Well, I want to say thanks to the Land Services Department. This is something that, going way back to Paul Teedy and Rosemary and myself, we, wanted to divest ourselves of these different properties that are not really in our timber management program. And it just makes total sense. So I'm glad to see you guys are continuing to work on identifying parcels that makes no sense for us to hold on to. So thanks, Tom. I'm all in favor of this. Good idea.
So we'll bring some action to the next meeting.
Very
That's
good.
okay.
I think there's a consensus to support this, so thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Move on to the next one.
Yes. So the next one involves some property up in Timothy Township off the old grade road. We'll get a map here in a second.
Tom, I'm going to interrupt you just for a second. So Commissioner Coring, if you'll list, are you comfortable putting that first one with the easement on consent rather than?
Absolutely, Steve. Yep, perfect.
All right, Tom, if you'll put that on consent, Teresa and Jesse.
Thank you.
All right, sorry to enter.
Oh, all good. Like I mentioned, this next one up is up in Timothy Township, off of the old grade road. And so, this is an existing easement that was granted back in 2005. In 2005, it was granted to a Dan and Ann Stewart. And the legal description and survey were accurate and good, but the easement ran with the stewards and not the property. Fast forward to 2007, county board action again was taken to transfer the easement to a David Baston trust. And once again, that easement was transferred to a person and not the parcel. And so we've seen this a few times here in that the easements we used to grant were to a person and not the parcel. And so we've changed our policy. Now we handle easements and now we're granting them to the parcel. And so we received a request from Mr. Baston to have the easement updated to our new format, which includes transferring with the property. Mr. Baston is looking at selling his property, and his title company is saying that the access they have cannot transfer, and so they're not able to complete the sale. And so, once again here to just chat about one of these easements we granted a long time ago. Mr. Baston is aware that any survey and legal fees that they may inquire are their responsibility included with the recording of the easement as well. So we don't see any negative impacts to our operations or timber sales. There's already an existing easement in place for the stewards and Mr. Baston. This would just rework the existing easement to transfer with the property.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Coring, go ahead.
Yeah, just, I think you just, there again, I think, Tom, you just answered my question. So we're not going to incur any cost. Is there going to be any staff costs that we would pass on to this, to work on putting this together, or I guess that's my question.
Yeah, Commissioner Coring, no, there will not. When we have an easement, like a new easement request, we have quite a bit more considerable staff time. And so with these, they'll be handed our easement template, and then it'll be their responsibility to fill it out, return it to us, including the survey and all the good documents that go with it. So they'll just be paying for like I said, the survey and have the easement recorded.
I'm okay with this, Steve, as long as we don't incur any cost to the taxpayers on this. That should be borne by the person that wants the easement. So I'm good to go.
Okay. You're comfortable with that? Would we want that on consent also?
Yes.
Okay, Tom.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Trevor. We have Trevor here from the Arboretum.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thanks for having me. All right, I'm assuming everybody received the couple documents I sent over, their draft resolutions. So what we're looking for the Arboretum is a couple resolutions. We are seeking regional designation through the Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails Commission. We have done this in the past. We have 12 letters of support, both from City of Brainerd, City of Baxter, and a bunch of our partners, CLC and, Central Lakes College, and a bunch of nonprofits in the region. So I don't know how familiar everyone is with Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails. Okay, so the purpose of the commission is to make recommendations to the legislature for grants funded by the Parks and Trail funds to counties and cities outside the 7 metro area. So regional parks are fancy parks, right? They get state funding so that they can invest in infrastructure. What they do fund is acquisitions, infrastructure, anything underground, bathrooms, pavilions, chalets, parks, trails. What they don't fund, operations, insurance, payroll, nothing associated, no pickups, no tractors, right? So some examples of these are like Spirit Mountain in Duluth is a regionally designated facility. The Milford Mine is a regionally designated. Gull Lake Trail in Cass County is a regionally designated facility as well. So there's about 80 of these floating around. So the legacy funds were passed by Minnesota voters in 2008, and that's where these funds come from. So that was just, and if there's any questions about that, I can answer those at this time before I move on. Hearing none.
So
Yep.
Trevor, just quick, so you got 2 resolutions, so the
Yep.
first, let's talk about the first one first. What's that gonna accomplish?
Okay, this here?
Yes.
There, oh, thank you. Okay, so they prefer the DNR grants officer that actually grants these funds, prefers that there's 2 resolutions. So one of these is for, the one that we're looking at now is a resolution with intent to purchase Arboretum land under a long-term lease agreement. So we currently lease about 80 acres, give or take, from the county. 87.9 acres under a current lease agreement. Those parcels are just north of the Brainerd landfill site, the old dump. One is to the north of it, and one is just to the east of it. Okay, so this resolution would be with the intent to purchase the north 120 acres at the Arboretum, our northernmost property, under the same lease agreement. So it would just extend, and we would ask that you would extend the lease agreement on the pre-existing properties as well, to be used only for recreation purposes. And that's because there had been previous state and federal funding associated with those properties, and so Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails has asked me to be clear that they are for recreation purposes only.
So a quick question for you then.
Yep.
There's been talk about extending Cypress Drive north to Wise Road,
Yep.
and that could have some impact on the Paul Bunyan Trail, which could have some impact on Arboretum property.
Yep.
Any thoughts about that? Because you're saying that it can only be used for recreation, but here we'd be moving dirt to put a road in place, basically. Would that cause a conflict?
As long as it's to the west of the property, I don't see any conflict. And where it currently is, it goes between the golf course and the Arboretum property. There is, if you look at a map, there is one small sliver where so it would really, it would depend on where the road goes. So if you're looking at a parcel map, you'll notice that the Paul Bunyan Trail does intersect the northern westmost portion of our property. So we own a really weird little sliver of property on the northwest side of the Paul Bunyan Trail up there.
Okay.
So it does intersect, and it says 120 acres here. I wanted to make a quick clarification that it would actually be 118.89 acres once you remove the state-owned Paul Bunyan Trail from that small parcel up there.
So we would want the 120 to reflect that 118 then?
On the resolution, if this were to move forward, then I will send over modified resolutions.
Okay.
It'll also include the if they were ever converted to non-recreational use, then they would need to fulfill the original grant contract. So I'd like that verbiage included in there as well, if this were to move forward today. So the first resolution was the intent to purchase
Okay.
that we're looking at here.
So a question, Steve.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
So first of all, Trevor, and don't take this the wrong way. I guess I'm kind of an old fashioned guy, but just in case this did fly and you had to go down to the legislature and testify to try to get some funds, I wouldn't wear a hat. I guess I'm just kind of old fashioned that way. I just kind of comes across as, disrespectful, I think. But, so with that said, so what the ask is you're wanting Crow Wing County to buy this 120 acres and then lease it back to you? Is that what the ask is?
Commissioner Coring, it would be to purchase, the intent is to purchase the land with state funding and then lease it back, or lease it to the Arboretum under the conditions outlined in the resolution.
So right now the land is owned by the Arboretum,
That's correct.
and then you'd sell it to Crow Wing County with lands from, or some money from like maybe the Lassard Sam's Fund. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the Greater Minnesota Parks and Trail, the legacy funds.
Yeah.
And I could probably provide a clarification as well. The natural resource-based parks classification, they do have a requirement that there's 200 plus acres in municipal ownership. They do believe that's the best classification for our park currently. And so this would help us fulfill that minimum land ownership requirement. If that
So
provides
it has,
clarification.
Trevor, so it has to, or Jesse, it has to be Crow Wing County land in order, and then leased back to you in order for you to apply for these grants? Is that what I'm understanding?
That would be correct. For us to achieve regional designation, we would also need an approved master plan that would go in front of the county. So there's a few conditions here. Some of the barriers that we're experiencing right now is the odd land ownership, right? So we own some land there. We also own the dump land. The Nature Conservancy owns and manages 160 acres in the middle of the Arboretum property. And so we're just looking to clean up some of the land ownership issues to reduce some of these barriers. Last time we ranked medium on our designation application, and the primary thing that didn't allow us to rank high, which then did not allow us to get designated, so then we could not procure funding or apply for funding. So yes, we would need to resolve the land ownership. They have indicated that a resolution with the intent to purchase would suffice for the application. And once we rank high and become a designated facility, we are then capable of applying for funds for procurement.
So a question, so for the start of this, so Crow Wing County, in essence, would really have to be applying for the money to be able to buy this from you, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And then how much are we talking about, or does Gary Griffin have a price on it, what it considered it's worth?
It would be we would have to have an appraisal.
Okay.
We're looking at somewhere in the realm, and this is a guess just based on the Crow Wing County's website, but I think the current land valuation was about $420,000 for the 120 acres. RG Title came out and made sure there were no deed restrictions, no conservation easements, nothing funny with the land, and it came back clean. They preliminarily assessed the value just over $500,000, and so we haven't had a formal assessment done, so we would actually have to have a certified assessor come out and assess the land.
So this wouldn't happen unless we were successful in getting the money, Crow Wing County, to get the money to buy this. I would not be in favor of us trying to sell other land and then come and buy this and then lease it to you for $1. That doesn't make sense for the taxpayers in my mind.
I would agree.
Okay.
Is this the project that you and former Administrator Houle were working on when he was here?
That's correct.
Okay, then I know about it.
Yeah, Rosemary, I agree with you. Tim explained it to me. I'm just trying to refresh myself. That seems like it's been over a year ago or been a while ago, so. Okay, so the next step then, okay, so let's say we get this money, we buy that, lease it back to you for 100 years, I guess. And then what's the next step? Then it's all in your ball, it's your ball game, and you're applying for grants to make it appealing to people that want to visit there. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So right now, I maintain and manage 13 miles of hiking and cross-country ski trails, a couple miles of snowshoe trails, some lighted sledding hills. We just last year built a nature-based playscape and education area, outdoor fitness equipment, botanical gardens. This year will be, well, last year we broke ground on the largest bike park and bike skills playground in central Minnesota. So we're really shifting gears. We're trying to become a premier recreation destination for central Minnesota and Crow Wing County. If this application were approved and we did receive regional designation and we were able to complete the land acquisition, we would still be eligible for further funding cycles. So if our master plan were approved and we wanted to expand the bike park, or if we wanted to install outdoor recreation amenities like a four-season chalet or a disc golf course or other recreational amenities to draw visitors to Crow Wing County, we would still be eligible for another round of funding under the designation.
Jesse, another question. So who owns the Arboretum now? Who's like what? Is it just an organization, or who? I guess I don't understand that.
The Northland Arboretum is a 501c3 nonprofit. We own and operate the Arboretum. The Visitor Center is currently on Crow Wing County leased land, though the bike park will be on the former landfill site, and some of our botanical gardens are also on Crow Wing County land. Additionally, we run like the Haunted Trail on Crow Wing County land. Some of our cross-country ski trails, though not many, are on Crow Wing County land, and currently we have a portion of our snowshoe trails. Most of our botanical gardens and demonstration gardens are on the southeast parcel, which is the same parcel as the Visitor Center. But we own the southwest quadrant, we own the landfill site, and we also currently own the northern 120 acres. But yes, we are a nonprofit organization that
So
operates.
we're leasing it to you. We're leasing land to you now, I guess,
That's correct.
right? Okay. So who makes decisions for the ARB? Is there an Arboretum? Is there a local board that's in charge of this 501c3?
Yes, that's correct. I essentially have 9 bosses. So there's 9 board of directors,
Okay.
9 people on the board. I'm the executive director, so I'm essentially the 10th person on the board of directors.
So this land is, this isn't like we're buying private land. This is actually all owned, this 120 acres is owned by the Arboretum, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So, okay, I had another question and I forgot what it was now, so go ahead.
Commissioner Lee?
Oh, you know what? I know what it was. I don't know if this is a big deal or not, but Therese, if you put up that first resolution, Jesse's got it down as commission. I believe we're a board, not a commission. I don't know if that makes any difference. It was in parentheses towards the,
It would be another just little cleanup that,
Yep.
because we are a board rather than the commissioners.
Roger that.
Even though the board is made up
Commission.
of commissioners.
Okay, board
Okay.
of commission. Okay, I can make that edit.
Okay. Trevor,
Yes, sir.
I saw a map that you were looking at on your desk, and that we don't have that I'm aware of. Is this 118 acres, is that in between these county land that we already own that are leasing to you and not in the city limits? Is that correct?
I believe all of the land is in the city limits. It is north of the Nature Conservancy property. It's also adjacent to City of Brainerd property. They have the parking lot where I think Parks and Rec intended to build ball fields, kind of in that marshy area to the north.
Okay.
So I believe it is all in city limits.
Okay. Have either one of those, Brainerd or the city of Baxter, been contacted or approached, or what's the, I guess I'm curious as to why we're the proposed new owners of it.
The recommendation by the Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails Commission was to stay consistent in the land ownership. Since we already lease 80 some odd acres from the county, it made more sense to reduce owners rather than increase owners. It just cleans things up, and so.
Okay, perfect. That's what I needed to know. Thank you,
Yeah.
Trevor.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, so we have the first one, which is just the intent,
Correct.
if I understand right. And then the second one would be the ask for the money?
The second one is for the application, so the county would be the applicant for regional designation, actually. So the first one would be more of the ask for the money, the intent to purchase.
Okay,
The second one is the county as lead applicant to become a regional facility. There is a funding agreement clause in there as well, but it's the legal authority to enter into formal designation.
so essentially, the first one is saying that this board agrees to it and that we're asking for the money to purchase.
And then the second one allows you to enter into a formal funding agreement and the regional designation process.
Okay. And I would go back to follow up on what Commissioner Coring said too. At the end, it says signed by the chair, and then it says the clerk. I think normally it would be the administrator if that would be signing.
Yes, the administrator is the clerk to the board.
So it should say administrator.
Administrator.
Mr.
Right.
Chair, I'll work with Trevor to clean it up
Okay.
to our standards.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any other concerns for what is being presented today?
Well, the only thing is I just want to make sure that we're held, that when I say we, the county, that we don't have staff. Staff is busy enough as it is. This is your deal, so I want to make sure that you're handling all of this. Well, it sounds like Teresa's going to help you a little bit. That's okay, but and then if we don't get, and if we're don't get the money, then this thing is not going to happen, right?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. You know what, I guess I don't see anything that's raising a red flag for me. I know there's a lot of people that like the Arboretum. I think you're doing a great job. I think you've got some great ideas to bring in more people, because our whole county, there's not a whole lot of manufacturing, and tourism is our deal. So if we have places that people want to come, that's a good thing. So as long as it doesn't create more work for us here at the county, and we're not having to levy property taxpayers to pay for this, then I'm okay with it.
Sounds like we have consensus to put it on the regular agenda.
Mr. Chair, this will be on the March 11th county board meeting.
Okay.
So not the next one, but the following one.
Okay.
You want it on regular or consent?
I think it should be on the regular myself.
Okay.
I would agree with that.
Oh, and you did have somebody coming for that anyway, didn't you?
Joe Kopishki from Greater Minnesota, that's his availability, so he'll be here as well to answer the deeper questions, because him and Renee are much more intricately involved with the evaluation team, and they've got a formal process as well. So they'd like this to work for everyone.
Okay. So Commissioner Coring, you have until March 11th to get all your questions formalized.
Yeah, exactly.
All
Well,
right.
good job today in your presentation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Trevor. Appreciate it. And with that, we have nothing else. So we are adjourned. Can all go back.